Look at this play right here. This is exactly the type of bet that you want to add to your parlay slip. A strong edge with an arb to a sharp sports book. In this video, I'm going to show you how to find plays like this to actually build you a profitable parlay betting strategy. I've placed over 550 track parlays using OddsJam in 2026, and I've brought back a 10.5% ROI this year. Today, I'm going to share with you my exact process, step by step, so that you can do the same thing. Before I show you how to build a profitable parlay, I need to explain to you why most people's parlay strategies are mathematically destroying them. It's because they have no idea the actual fair win percentage that they have when they're building parlays. So on a classic two-leg parlay with each leg at -110 odds, you should be receiving odds of plus 264. Remember, all odds are associated with a win probability. It's a marriage for life. So plus 264 means that you have a 27.5% chance of actually winning this parlay. That's on a two-leg. Now let's move on to a three-leg. Adding a third leg at -110 odds gives us plus 596 in terms of a payout. We go from a 27.5% chance of winning this parlay down to just under 14.5%. On a four-leg parlay, adding a fourth leg at -110 odds, we're receiving odds of plus 1228. We go from just under 14.5% chance of winning a three-leg parlay now down to 7.5% chance on a four-leg parlay. And finally, if you add a fifth leg at -110 odds, our payout should be plus 2436. At plus 2436 on a five-leg parlay with each leg at -110 odds, we have just under a 4% chance of actually winning this bet. This is before you even consider if you like Mahomes on his over or under, or the Cowboys to cover the spread. So the problem here is you're typically not cooking up a two-leg parlay, which means if you're going at a three-leg parlay or worse at -110 odds, you have a 14% chance. But most people just have no idea the actual fair win percentage that they have when they place a parlay. Whether you're placing odds of -150 or plus 120 for each individual leg, you lose a couple of those four-leg parlays in a row, and you think the sports books are in cahoots with the sports leagues, and you think that you just can't beat this game because it's rigged. The next thing that most people do is they just go to their favorite sports book to cook up their parlay. They like this three-leg parlay with Wagner's under, Robinson's over, Dort's under. They're like, yo, I'm getting odds of plus 491, so $100 pays me out almost $500. This is amazing. But if they just did a little line shopping, instead of getting plus 491 odds on FanDuel, if they just simply went to DraftKings, they're going to be receiving odds of plus 752. So FanDuel's going to pay you out $491 for that three-leg parlay, but DraftKings is going to pay you out $852 for the same exact parlay. There is no line shopping done by the casual bettor. You are literally leaving hundreds of dollars on the table playing this at FanDuel compared to DraftKings. So with all three of those legs on FanDuel, they have negative expected value. But if you simply played this on DraftKings, you're receiving a better price, which turned this into positive expected value. So think about it this way. If you have a genuine edge on a play, like Lou Dort under on his threes at 7%, then add the Wagner play that also has an edge and combine them together, that's the recipe for success with creating parlays. And it doesn't matter if it's just DraftKings or FanDuel. This also works with the DFS books like Prize Picks and Underdog. I've made almost $1,500 this year just on Prize Picks. So this applies to any type of sports book when it comes to parlays. Doesn't matter if it's player props, money lines, spreads, totals, it's all the same strategy. So what most people don't understand is if you play a five-leg parlay consistently at -110 odds, well, as we talked about, you have less than a 4% chance of winning this parlay, which means if you are able to win 10% of your parlays at these specific odds consistently, then you are extremely profitable. The problem is that you're going to lose 90% of those parlays, but still make a ton of money. Most people can't handle losing 9 out of 10 of their plays. And if you lost 9 straight parlays in a row, but you hit that 10th leg, you would be very profitable playing 5-leg parlays at -110 odds. The problem is most people don't have that kind of patience or confidence in their own strategy. Sticking with 2-leg parlays at -110 odds, well, that gives us a 27 37.5% chance. So if you can win 30% of these slips, you're going to be profitable, which means that the variance is less crazy than it is when it comes to your 5-leg parlays. So for you cooking up 5, 6, 7, 8-leg parlays, you are introducing way more variance into your specific slips, which means you might lose a whole bunch of them, but if you hit one out of maybe say 10 of those slips, you're going to be profitable. The problem is you don't have the patience to stay with that strategy. So sticking at 2 and 3-leg parlays, as we mentioned before, you have a higher win probability, but you're still going to see some extreme variance from time to time. But it greatly depends on the individual odds that you're putting on your parlays. If you had a 2-leg parlay at minus 200 odds for each leg, this gives us a fair chance of plus 125 odds or a 44.5% chance. So depending on the type of legs that you are adding to your parlay can definitely reduce or increase your variance. Now let's go through the OddsJam Plus EV tool so I could show you my setup and then you can tinker with this as you go. Remember guys, if you want to try OddsJam 1 week for free and save 35% off your first month after the 1 week trial ends, use code Billy35. It'll be linked in the description below. So simply select the sportsbook that you're looking to create your parlay with. I'm just going to focus on DraftKings at the moment, looking at minus 200 odds to plus 125. Again, if you increase this number to plus 150 or plus 200, you're introducing more variance to your parlay. If you really want to keep this nice and tight, you could put a minus 125 here on the maximum and just take some heavy favorites. Now, when it comes to the DVIG settings, you have some different options. If you're going after more underdogs, those plus 150s, those plus 200s, I would go with additive. But if you're sticking into this odds range, power default or worst case is completely fine. And then everything else just depends on the sports and the leagues and what's going on in the calendar and what you want to focus on. So I just have MLB, NBA, and NHL selected, just looking at player props. All of these individual plays on this screen have an edge. So if you wanted to cook up a 4-leg parlay and add all 4 of these plays here, understand that you're going to have then a very low fair win percentage. But if you just took Dort and Christian Brown here, then you're going to have a higher win percentage and less variance. Something else that you want to pay attention to is that this is a traditional 2-leg parlay with Dort and Brown, because this game here with Lou Dort is completely different from the Nuggets and the Timberwolves game. Once you get into same game parlays, that's when the books will start to really mess around with your price. They bake in positive or negative correlation within your same game parlay, and so you're not always going to receive a fair price. But with traditional parlays, meaning taking Dort, Brown, Burleson, Robinson, all 4 of these events are not connected to one another. So you're going to receive a fair price from the sportsbook because this is a traditional parlay. Now let's walk through a couple of steps when it comes to building this 2-leg parlay that I want you to be able to understand so that number 1, you know the price that you're receiving is fair, and number 2, we can also figure out how much money you should put on this parlay because most bettors have no idea and they just randomly guess or whatever they feel is going to be a good bet. The first thing that you want to do is come down to the calculator section. All these calculators are free over here at OddsJam, guys, and open up a parlay calculator. Next, we're receiving odds of plus 115 for Dort and plus 104 for Brown. So when you come over this parlay calculator, as you can see, I already have a random dollar amount inputted, but 115 and 104, which means I should be receiving roughly plus 338 or plus 339 odds on this 2-leg parlay. The reason that we use this calculator is because we're double checking over here on DraftKings. As you can see here at the bottom, we're receiving plus 338 odds. We use this calculator here to double check that we're receiving the correct price from DraftKings and not getting ripped off. The next thing that we want to do, because we're de-vigging to Pinnacle, remember, we're removing the vig from the sports book, that is Pinnacle and their price, and Pinnacle's saying, yo, we should be receiving plus 101 odds on the Dort play and basically minus 102 odds on Christian Brown. So what you want to do, if you want to see this column right here, open up the filter section, scroll down to the bottom to settings, and then this is where you're going to be able to check on probability. Make sure that probability is checked on to the right or the blue is appearing. That's where you can see that win percentage on your Plus EV page. The next step is trying to figure out how much money do we put on this parlay. Well, remember, Odds and win probability are in a marriage together. So we're going to remove this decimal point 2 spots over to the left, so 0.498. And remember, it's a 2-leg parlay. We need both legs to hit in order to cash, so we need to multiply the Dort leg with Brown's leg. So we're going to take 0.498 times 0.505, which gives us a 25.15 if you round up here. Fair win percentage. That's our actual win percentage that we have. But remember, because each of these legs have positive EV, we're getting paid out more than what we should. So the next thing that we're going to do, now that we know what the fair win percentage is, we're going to open up a Kelly calculator. I recommend using quarter Kelly when it comes to your sports betting, then the odds that we're receiving from DraftKings, which is plus 338, and then our fair win percentage. Now, your bankroll number here, guys, this is where you're going to set this up in your settings under your profile over here at OddsJam. I'm being told that this parlay has just over a 10% edge, and I should wager $75 on this parlay pertaining to my bankroll. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I double check that the odds are still the same here over on DraftKings. I'm making sure that I'm taking advantage of the edge based off my bankroll, but I'm not overexposed. I'm not putting $500 down on this parlay. I'm looking at my bankroll, the edge that we have, and then placing the appropriate amount of money on this play. If you wanted to take this a step further and you just don't want to play a 2-leg parlay, you want to add Burleson and Robinson, or you wanted to add more legs, you just need to know what the fair win percentage is and then multiply that together. So for Burleson, it's 0.598. And then if we wanted to add Robinson, it would be 0.459. Multiply this together and you're going to see when we move this decimal point 2 spots to the right, we have a 6.9% chance of winning this bet, so 7%. If you don't use a calculator to figure out the optimal amount of money that you should be putting down on this parlay, you're guessing. You're either overexposing yourself or you're not taking advantage of the edge that you have, no matter if it's a 2-leg parlay or a 20-leg parlay. As I mentioned before, this is a traditional parlay where we're not going to get ripped off in price. But what you're going to notice is if you wanted to add more legs to maybe just the Thunder Suns game or the T-Wolves Nuggets game, you're going to receive a vastly lower payout from the sportsbooks when it comes to SGPs because they bake in some type of correlation within their pricing. It's why they advertise SGPs so much. It's an incredible ripoff to you as a bettor, and it's an incredible advantage as the sportsbook. Why should you care about this? Because when this parlay hits, you're not going to get paid out as much as you actually should. So the more times that you play SGPs and the more that you win, more money's going to the sportsbook's pocket instead of yours. To show you an example of how a sportsbook rips you off with SGPs, I took the top 3 plays here from the Nuggets T-Wolves game. Brown's under, Reed's under, Johnson's over. Threw all 3 of these odds into a parlay calculator. Plus 104, minus 123, minus 133. A $100 parlay should pay us out odds of plus 548. So it means we're making $548 in profit for a grand total payout of $648. Over on DraftKings, the same 3 legs that we just inputted from the Plus EV tool, we're only getting paid out plus $495. So our grand total payout is $595. OddsJam told us we should get paid out a grand total of $648. Minus the $595 that DraftKings is going to give us a payout of if this parlay hits. That's $53 that doesn't come into our pocket if this parlay hits and goes to DraftKings. This only gets worse in terms of your payout of what you should receive compared to what you are receiving when you add more legs to the SGP. If you found value in the content thus far, make sure to smash that subscribe button, click that thumbs up button, and tap that bell notification so you don't miss the next video that we drop. Something else that you need to take away from this video: volume. We're in April as of recording. I've placed over 550 parlays thus far. If you take everything that you learned from this video and place 1 or 2 parlays and lose, you're not going to be able to see the true advantage of Plus EV show up for you over the course of the long run. Volume and getting down each individual leg that has an edge, that's the recipe for success. So while you might not see maybe immediate success in the beginning, stick with this process and you will end up profitable. For my DFS players, pairing this strategy with the video that's popping up on the stream, Clark is going to break down exactly how to crush Prize Picks and the DFS apps with another specific strategy.